Imagine beaming or shifting into another person's body. You inherit their entire life, their childhood, their adolescent years, their adult years, and the memories are available for you as though you had experienced them yourself. That is exactly what's happening as we rise in frequency and we step into newer, higher frequency versions of us, versions that have always existed. We've just been cut off from them because we've been operating from a lower level of consciousness. I had an amazing discussion with my Pleiadian guide very recently where she was explaining to me how the ascension process works in terms of becoming aware of higher frequency versions. As this information comes online, our DNA activates, this knowing comes forward, we step into new higher frequency versions of ourselves. And as that happens, the associated instructions or knowing of how to navigate that new dimensional field come with it. This was an amazing, very powerful discussion. I want to share with you guys, try to shed some light on that. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button now. So from the human perspective, from whatever level of consciousness you're at, we have all sorts of ideas and stories as to what the future or higher frequency timeline is going to look like. But we're experiencing that through our current dimensional frequency, our current state, the reality that we find ourselves in. We don't yet have the information to be able to process higher frequency realities. Therefore, when we try to think of what the future is going to look like or a different timeline, we're doing it from our current state, our current level of frequency. And that is very, very limiting. It's what we know now. It does not include what we do not yet have access to. That sounds logical, right? Sounds like it makes sense. But when you think about it, every time we try to think of what this journey looks like, we are limited to the current frequency that we are operating at, wherever your consciousness is on the frequency bandwidth. So as we ascend and we step up that ladder, we're going to step into new versions of ourselves, new realities that we don't yet have the instructions or know-how to process or even perceive. So it's important to be able to be present in the journey that we're on at the level we're at and allow this energy to flow through. All of the instructions on how to navigate higher frequency versions aren't going to come from what you're reading or seeing or even experiencing right now, because that is from your current state of consciousness. All of those instructions are locked away in your DNA. And as your DNA starts to activate, starts to vibrate up, vibrate faster, those instructions, that knowing, that know-how comes forward with it. It would be just like beaming into somebody else's body and instantly accessing their entire history. Okay. When you are outside of that body, looking at them in your reality, you may not have had any clue who they are or what they've experienced throughout their lives. But when you get in there, when you get in and you merge with that energy and your consciousness merges with theirs, you then understand or have a perspective. You have access to the information that made that person who they are. I remember my Pleiadian guide saying to me a long time ago, when we meet physically in a higher dimensional field, I'm not going to be thinking that any of that is new, because all of the experiences, all of the knowledge, the knowing, the know-how of how to navigate that field, all the information that goes along with that field will be available to me in that instance. Okay, so you're stepping into a version of yourself. You are no longer the older version that you left, the lower frequency version, but this new higher frequency version of you just completely comes online and has all the instructions, knowing, memory, all of that good stuff that exists at that frequency level. So when we're looking at that from this perspective, from a lower frequency perspective, the mind takes a heavier role in trying to determine what that future may look like. Maybe we're going to experience things and we're not going to understand what they are. Well, as we expand in consciousness and our frequency rises, when you get to those experiences, when you get to that level, the understanding of what's happening goes with it. Now, you may not understand always what's happening now in this dimensional field. When we open up to these mystical experiences, we start to have things where we're seeing our guides, maybe we're seeing flashes, we're seeing energy. We may not really understand what's going on, but that's because we're in a much lower state of consciousness. We are much more separated from those aspects of us. So the mind is more heavily involved. As we go through the healing process, the mind starts to quiet, multidimensional energy comes online, we integrate that energy, we embody it, and these new versions kind of just come online. They pop up. And a lot of times we don't even know it. But you're going to realize that when you start having these new experiences from a higher state of frequency, after you've done a lot of the healing and the clearing work, you're going to very clearly understand what's happening, because you're going to accept the fact that the new is coming through. And you're going to know deep inside that the new that's coming through is a new version of you that is just coming online, and that the answers to what's happening came with it. We're not going to have that consciousness of being separate, having to experience something and then go off and try to figure out what it is. We're going to have the consciousness to be able to have that experience and feel inside and tap instantly into the knowing as to what's going on, because that polarity is going to be shrinking, and that gap between the manifestation and the reality and what's going on inside, the cause and the effect and the reality, is going to be so small. It's going to be very instantaneous. So you're going to open up or allow new versions of you to come through. New experiences are going to happen in reality. It's a function of the frequency, the new frequency, higher dimensional field that you've stepped into. And when you could bring it back inside, you are going to know exactly what's happening. And that's how this journey is going to progress. But if you're still at the stage where you're looking around trying to figure out or make sense of what's happening, know that that's okay. That is just a sign of where you're at. That is a sign of the frequency. And that is a sign of your level of separation. You are separated from that information, okay, because of the frequency that you're operating with. So continue going down the healing path, continue creating space, continue to detach from the mind, become the observer, ground into the body, feel what's going on within the body, experience all the emotions that are rising up. It's your higher self guiding you into the dense energy so that it can be alchemized, can rise in frequency. You can create more space within your body to ground more of your higher self. And as that happens, the instructions, the knowing, the memories of higher dimensional fields come with it. And all you have to do is go inside. You're building the circuitry to bring yourself back inside very easily. That's why you've been meditating. That's why you've been grounding. You've been observing. You've been becoming present throughout your day. All of those things have been establishing this new circuitry. The right brain, the left brain, they can talk to each other. There's consciousness throughout the body. The areas that were previously dense are now higher in frequency. There's consciousness. There's energy, higher frequency light flowing through those aspects of your body. Those aspects are you. That energy is you. And it carries with the truth, the wholeness, the fullness of who you really are. And that's all the information that you could ever need. It's all right at your fingertips, not out there. It's in here. So as you continue to expand and rise in frequency, and you continue to have these amazing experiences, look inside for what's happening. The knowing, the knowledge, the memories, they all come with it. This is creating that. Don't forget that. Remember that throughout your day, and you are going to really shift your entire perspective on what's happening. It's going to become joy. It's going to become fun. You're going to have a lot more gratitude for the experiences, because you are going to know that they are all coming from within you. If you have not downloaded my heart chakra meditation, do that on my website. There's a link in the description. That'll get you inside, get you tapped in, get you tied in, get your energy flowing, and really help you to heal the blockages within your body and raise your frequency and allow more of these magical experiences to come forward. Thank you.